I am Feel It.
And I am Fix It. And we talk about life.
And stuff and things.
With the occasional rant.
Which you will have no problem doing.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Whatever it is where you currently are, we hope you're having a good one.
Yes, we do. I can't do the thing you do. So.
Sure you could, but
Yeah,
you gotta have your own style. You gotta do your thing.
That's your thing.
You gotta do your own thing.
That's your thing.
Yep.
As it is currently for us a lovely, sunny, cold January afternoon, and it's about to get awful. It's about to get real winter.
Yeah, definitely winter is coming.
So I know it's been a few years. Not used to it.
Yeah.
We've been spoiled.
Yeah. Well, yes, we have. Yes, we most definitely have. It's been a while since we've had to really deal with any kind of real snow.
And cold.
Yeah, and cold.
Not just the snow.
Yeah, I remember it's at least 15, if not more years ago. Guy was online with some friends. He was talking about it at work. And he was like, yeah, we're about to experience a heat wave. And he's like, what do you mean? It's like, where are you? It's winter here. Where are you at? It's like, oh, it's winter here too, but it's about to break back into double digits. I was like, man, I don't miss those heat waves.
Hey,
Yeah.
I have been looking at Greenland, and I could live there.
Eh.
I'd be all right with that.
Eh.
Cold summers
Sure.
and land of the midnight sun. That'd be interesting.
Yep. Be different.
I'm just saying.
I know I've experienced, it wasn't like midnight sun, but it was definitely, it did not get dark.
It messed with me pretty hard for a while, but I think I could adapt with curtains.
Oh yeah, well, in Mongolia, it's like we were in Mongolia in June, so they were technically in their summer, even though I want to say it was a week or
You
two
mean
before.
winter? It was their winter?
We were there in June. No, it's the Northern Hemisphere, so it was their summer.
Oh,
but they
I
had snow.
thought you meant to say something else.
No, they had snow like a week or two before we got there. And on the way back, we took a train back into China, and it never really got dark. I mean, the sun went below the horizon, but it was like, it never became more than dusk.
That would be interesting to live in.
It was definitely kind of cool to experience.
As I was looking at some of the stats, and that their depression rate is pretty high, as well as their suicide. I could see that. Pretty isolated, cold, not a whole lot of options.
Yep.
And yeah, if you were just in if you felt like you were in a perpetual day, there's something about it ending with dark.
Yeah. Well, and the places that have
those circadian rhythms matter.
The midnight sun also tend to have, in the flip side, they have days where there's almost no sun. So yeah. So
that'd be great.
6 months of so you got 6 months of summer, and well, let me phrase that. You have 6 months where the days like suddenly get so long that they don't end, and then 6 months later you have days where you didn't see the sun because it didn't make it. It's like, that would be interesting.
As long as I had my sunglasses. That'd
and
be
at the
all right.
same time,
Maybe a couple pair just in case
that'd
something
be
happened.
really weird. I don't know if I could go for that.
I don't know. Be fun to visit.
It'd be interesting.
It's a conversation. I'm just saying.
It would be interesting to visit, but I'm all for visiting places.
Maybe someday. I say all that to say, when I saw, of course, our Arctic temperatures that are coming, and having had just
Yeah.
researched Greenland, they just kind of live in that.
Yep.
That's we're upset about a couple of days worth that's coming.
Yeah.
And whole other. That's a conversation. But anyway.
Yep.
We have been spoiled with very mild winters.
We have,
And
to be fair.
I'm very glad that it's different this year for tourism that matters in this state,
Yes, most definitely.
especially northern Michigan.
Mhm.
Thrive on it, literally make their living with it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I'm glad. I'm glad that
Yeah, it's between
bumped up a little.
snowmobiling and skiing and then the ice fishing and all that. Was it Shantytown in, was it Houghton Lake?
Tip Up Town.
Yeah, Tip Up Town.
I don't know. Do they still do that festival?
When they actually have ice,
It's been a few years.
because they set up whole towns on the ice on the lakes, and it becomes a huge stupid party. But the idea was a lot of people ice fishing, and then ice fishing competitions, and snowmobile races out on the lake.
Yeah,
and,
I don't even know. I don't know
Yeah.
the last time they could have done that.
Yeah,
But
mild winters are not great for snow sports.
my nod to my UP clients that I talk with that are ice fishing and are getting out there and loving that. Good for you.
Yeah, more power to you.
Not exactly the same here. I mean,
Yeah, no.
we've all had some winter.
Yes,
Theirs is just a little bit more lingering.
yes.
That's all.
Well, I mean, we were, I mean, not quite, but we were hanging out at like the 45th parallel, so like halfway between the North Pole and the equator. So so we came south, and it got way mellower in the winter.
Just for some of you that may not know, I don't know exactly where. I know it is north of Mansalona, south of Petoskey.
Yep.
Somewhere near the road that enters Dead Man's Hill.
Yes. Yeah, there's a sign that says 45th parallel.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's on 131.
Yes.
I believe there is also a marker on I-75.
I would think
I'm
so.
sure every major road has a marker.
I would think so. Yeah.
But that is where we are from.
Yep.
It is that area.
We were just south of the 45th.
There's a picture of us somewhere with, or I don't know, a picture of us with it, or if we just took a picture of it, the 45th parallel sign in Oregon, because we thought that was cool. But
Yep. Yeah, I don't.
First time I'd ever seen it outside of Michigan. Can't speak for you, but
Can't say I ever noticed, but
it matters and it doesn't. We're not big travelers. Never have been. You kind of used to be for other purposes.
yes.
I'd hope to be able to do some things in my future as more things stabilize. But just stuff like that, it's interesting. It's interesting. And with all this talk in the news about Greenland, that maybe in my lifetime, the United States of America would grow. Who knows? Whole nother topic. I don't want to go into all those things.
That's
but
one of those.
It was kind of fascinating.
Interesting. Yes, I will
I
definitely
started
say
looking at it
definitely
like,
interesting.
what is it even like? This footage that they were showing on the news, and you're like, it just looks cold.
Yes.
And I
Which
guess the
is kind of-
population's like 56,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
not,
nothing.
It's not large. No.
That's a fraction
yes.
of the state of Michigan.
Yes.
That's kind of wild.
That's less than like our big counties. So
Yeah, I don't know exactly what that would equate to. I just know that's
Yeah.
not a lot.
no.
That's
Not
wild to
not at
me.
all,
And they're
no.
a country, and they are beautiful.
Yes.
And
I believe I had a refueling stop at one point in Greenland, but I'm not
you
positive.
did talk about it. Yes, you did.
I think I wasn't flying. All I know is we landed and somebody said something about Greenland, and I'm like,
I don't believe you got out.
yeah, we got out for a little while, and then they refueled
I remember
the
you
plane
saying
and-
something about it.
yeah.
It was just a very brief.
Yep.
can say that you were there, but you didn't actually get out of the
Yeah.
airport.
Well, it's like technically my feet have been on the ground in Scotland. Well, in a manner of speaking, they never got off the floor of the airport while we were changing planes.
It happens.
Saw out the window. It was gorgeous there. It was
You poor
beautiful out the
world
windows.
traveler.
Yeah. I had some opportunities, which I've enjoyed.
Yes, I would like to get back to some of that
It
at
would
some
be
point.
Kind of cool. Yeah.
Just prioritizing.
Yeah, I'll need a passport again. It's been a long time.
I just need one. We'll work on that.
Yes.
Um,
At some point.
I want to make a correction.
Uh-oh.
As I was talking about Still, the Michael J. Fox documentary,
Mhm.
it was last year. It was last December
Okay.
that we watched it.
Okay.
I said 2 years ago. And now that we are taking advantage currently of another of those Apple freebies that's really not that great. Sorry, not sorry for saying that out loud. Because you have to pay for like everything you want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really not that great.
No. not
They
really.
want you to just go ahead and subscribe.
Yep.
They don't want you to have the freebie.
No, yeah, definitely.
Um,
Subscribe and then pay extra to watch everything anyway, just like everybody else. Yeah.
So I did watch it. I rewatched that documentary recently, and I
Okay.
saw the year on it, and I thought, oh, all right, I was mistaken. So I want to correct that. Again, very inspirational
Mhm.
documentary, and I don't believe you can watch it any other way currently.
Not that I'm aware of. I believe that's their exclusive. I believe.
And then, of course, we just watched. We were just watching Superman. It's on. It's on in the living room down the
Yes.
hallway. The original Superman with Christopher Reeves, as we were talking about him a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and I kind of realized watching it on the streaming service we're currently watching it on, I don't know if I've ever watched it not on TV, because there was a bunch of stuff I'm like, I don't remember any of that.
Like the full movie.
Yeah, like they always edit, like people screaming and falling to their deaths as Krypton falls apart. I was like, I
do remember that.
I don't think I've ever seen that. And I realized it's like, I'm probably only ever watched it on TV for the TV edits, where they edit out a lot of that stuff to make room for commercials.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that being likely.
Yeah. There's a lot of movies I've seen, but I've only seen on TV. And apparently Superman is one of them.
Kind of interesting to watch. It was like they're having some type of marathon with it. So there's 2-3 different channels there that are playing it over and over again for hours, 1 and 2, and they're probably going all the way into 3 or 4. I just didn't keep looking at the channels.
Yeah, could be.
But just I don't know in particular why they're running it, but they are, and watched it for a
Probably
little bit.
renewed interest due to the documentary. Yeah.
Probably.
Sometimes it just takes a little something to spark a resurgence.
Yes, very fascinating story. Both stories, the
Yes.
Still and
Oh, yeah.
the Christopher Reeve documentary.
Yes. I do
Give
not
you a
disagree.
whole new perspective.
It does.
And speaking of perspective, you chose the topic today.
I did. And when we were trying to figure out, what are we going to talk about this time? And, sometimes there's a topic that's just been kind of, a thought that we had that's weighing on us, or a situation that we think warrants discussion, or popular topics, or whatever. And sometimes we got no clue. It's like, no, we committed to doing this. We need to come up with something. And you pulled up a bunch of stuff. It's like, hey, scroll. I can't talk today. It's like my tongue is not working for some reason. Anyway, try that again. So I was scrolling through and I came across what we're going to talk about. Yeah, I got it
You
right
got
here
yours?
too. Yep. And there were some things that popped into my head that I'll get into. I think. Can never tell where we end up, because it's just how this rolls. It's like we don't script. And
No.
I don't edit. The only thing
No.
I edit is when I mistakenly use somebody's name that we intentionally don't use. And interruptions and really long silences. That's the only thing I edit. So all of my mess ups, those are real. All of the times I get tongue tied. Yep, that's all. It's like we're just giving you, this is reality. This is our reality.
It is.
And we're sharing, and have fun with that. We hope. Anyway, so it doesn't have a quote or an individual that this is has been ascribed to, but I've seen different versions of it off and on, and my head went some places. So I figured, why not? This could work. Give us something to discuss. And it's your thoughts shape your vision. You see what you choose to see. And I think you can spiral that out a little bit in some different ways. And what popped into my head was a writing assignment I had for an English class in 2009, I want to say, which I say that out loud and holy crap, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
But I remember this writing assignment, and it was the assignment was basically to point out how an author's description changes the tone of an event. And the assignment was to go somewhere in public, just sit and observe, and then write what you see twice. One with a positive spin, one with a negative spin. But it has to be the same event, and it has to obviously be the same event.
Yeah, I remember you being frustrated with this.
And I went down to the local Dairy Queen, and I sat at a picnic table, and I just watched people ordering stuff and getting ice cream and and whatnot. And part of that was we knew the person that owned it, so, and you used to work there, and it was literally a couple blocks away from the house.
Once upon a time.
And once upon a really long dang time ago. If you really think about it, that was a while ago. You were what, 16? It's like
15. Right after I turned 15, that was my first job.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, just a few years ago.
Just a few.
But your point is?
But my point, anyway, and I kind of remembered what I wrote, and it was, family came in. They'd obviously just gotten back from the beach because they're all in bathing suits and their hair's all funky and kids are dripping sand everywhere, and it was a hot day. It was humid, and they're standing there and they're getting ice cream, and the kids are really excited, and the mom is really tired, and the dad's just buying ice cream. And I wrote that. That was the premise. And our little prompt here is like, what you choose to see is what you see in that situation. In one way, I wrote it that it was kind of the excitement and exuberance and fun of summer. It was a beautiful, warm, hot, sunny day where, jumping into the waters is just this big refreshing thing. And the kids were just like super excited, and they were, you were just having a good time with the kids, being crazy excited and getting, it's like, and the mess of life and having fun. And then I wrote an annoyed mom who's been dealing with her kids all day, and now she's exhausted. Now she's still got to bathe them and clean them, and they're just jumping around and being annoying, and they're annoying everybody, and the heat is just making me sweat, and I'm sitting here with my wet bathing suit and my wet hair, and just sticking to me and getting all clammy, and that kind of, but the situation, it didn't change. And it was that kind of that popped into my head. It's like, how you choose, your feelings color how you perceive facts. It's like I've often, I don't want to counseled people, but I don't counsel people. You counsel people. I'm not a counselor, but I mean, like when I give advice to people,
Sure.
Or, you're getting in these conversations and depending on who you're talking to, there's the concept of my truth pops up in some variation. They don't often say that, but that's not how I see it. Like, okay, that's awesome. But what's the reality behind what you think you're seeing? If at the end of things, when you take away your perspective and your opinion and your point of view, there's the kernel of fact that's in the middle of it. And the kernel of fact doesn't change, but your mindset in when you're talking about it, thinking about it, or observing it changes what that fact actually looks like, that kernel of truth in the center of it. I often use the example of a car accident. It's like at the center of everything, that car hit that car. Nobody ever, he was going way too fast and she didn't stop and he didn't do this and she didn't do that. And, it's like all they had to do was slow down. Like the fundamental truth. It's like, okay, maybe some of that is true. Maybe. That's your perspective. That's your thoughts. Then the reality is that car hit that car. Why was that car there? Why did this car those are all good questions, but a lot of that comes down to what was your perspective, where were your thoughts, where were your head and your feelings, observing it that makes you think it happened this way and not that way. The fundamental truth is that car hit that car. Everything else is conjecture, feelings, viewpoint, I think that's the tricky part is, when you're parenting actually kind of came to mind. Every parent has had a toddler drive them absolutely, completely, totally insane with questions. I don't think there's a parent out there that hasn't just had the urge to just scream, "Why are you doing this to me?" to that little child in one way or another. But if you change, you gotta, yes, what they're doing is very annoying to an adult. But if you change it to, if you pause and change your viewpoint to their viewpoint, they're tiny little students trying to learn life. And is what they're doing annoying you, the adult? Yes. Why? Because you learned that lesson when you were their age. Now they're learning that lesson. If you change your mindset, it's like, oh, they just want to understand how the world works, or they're just trying to have fun. It's like, there's sand all over the living room. Like, yep, there's sand all over the living room, and that was the most fun thing that kid could possibly do for that kid. They had a blast. Now you're an adult. You can either focus on the fact that your kid just had an amazing time, or the fact that there's sand in your living room. And I'm not saying you can't necessarily do both, but if you change your perspective, you can find a joy in that chaos. Thankfully we didn't have, neither of our girls were the why kid.
No.
I mean, they had their whys, because you want it, why, well,
but it wasn't.
You can't do that.
often.
Why? Okay, well, and no, it wasn't the why. It leads into another why, leads into another why. I think part of that is, my brand of neurospicy. It's like, oh, you really want to know why? Here, let me explain that to you.
Which you still do.
Which I still do. If you want
Whether
to,
they ask for it or not.
context is important. Yeah, anyway, excuse me. And I think that's a tricky thing to do because it is put yourself in the other person's come at it from the other person's point of view. You change your perspective so you can see it the way that they're seeing it. When they're a little kid and they want to know why, it's not because they're trying to annoy the snot out of you, even though it probably does. It's they're trying to understand the world around them. They'll say, hey, don't do that. Why? They're not being smarty. They're not being smart mouth little disobedient kids. They want to understand is like, okay, why? What is the reason behind that? So that I can better learn. I can better conform to the expectations. It's much easier to follow the... there's law as it is written, and then there's the spirit of the law. If you understand the spirit of the law, it's easier to follow the word of law because you understand it. Yes, there's a point where, especially when they're little, it's like, look, just do it. We'll get into the details later. Just do it. But if you can get into their little heads and explain the why, you don't have to explain it 50 times later because they already understand the spirit behind. It's like we covered this. You already know this.
I think we trailed a little bit, but I still
a little bit, but it's
understand
the same.
what you're saying.
It's kind of, but in that moment, you could just do the. I just said so. Just do it. Stop annoying me. Stop being a butt. Change your perspective to theirs. So like what you're saying is an annoying little pain in the butt. You change your perspective, and what you see is somebody who's trying to desperately understand the world that they're around them because they have no freaking clue how things work.
Your thoughts shape your vision. You see what you choose to see.
Mm-hmm. So if you change that little bit of you shift your perspective. Like, again, with a little kid. If you change your perspective from adult with a kid to a former kid with a kid who dealing with another kid, you don't see them as an annoying little pain in the butt. You see them as an inquisitive student trying to learn how to live in the world. And a lot of the annoyance goes away.
It takes practice.
Oh, gosh, yes.
It takes practice to see it yourself that different way, let alone verbalize it.
Oh, yeah. Well, and in order for you to even attempt that, you have to know that that's possible. You have to see that it's possible to see things from other people's point of view and then strive to see that from that point of view. You can't even, some people are very narrow-minded and all they can even conceive of existing is their point of view. It's like, I don't know, yeah, and we all know somebody like that, and we don't need to get into details. We all know somebody that can't see, it's like, you're wrong. It doesn't matter that, like, it's like, okay, what you're telling me doesn't work. I've done 5 million times and I make a living doing it, but it doesn't work. Oh, okay. There's no point in arguing with that person. They've already, their mind isn't wide enough.
I don't know what it's like at all to deal with black and white thinkers.
Well, it's not even black and white thinking necessarily. It's they don't acknowledge that there's black. That's kind of my. We've had discussions with individuals that had book knowledge of a subject, and they were arguing that in reality, that the reality of it doesn't work like that isn't even a possibility because the book said this. Like, that's great. I'm glad that the book version says this. But in reality, that doesn't work. But no. The the book way of doing it is this way. That's awesome. It's great. I'm not saying it doesn't. I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's what the book says. And the minute you put the book down, step out there and try that, it blows up in your face. They couldn't acknowledge the fact that that was even a possibility. That's the kind of yeah. I'm okay with black and white thinking to a degree. I am a very black and white kind of guy.
What?
Hey, I own it. I admit it. So if you ask my opinion, I'm going to be very straightforward and I'm going to talk like I'm right. Period. But at the same time, I understand that that's me. And you don't answer to me. that was a perspective shift. I had to see that was how I behaved and acted and functioned, and I did, and I do. And then I had to consciously acknowledge that I'm not responsible for you. I'm responsible for me and how I treat you and how I interact with you. I'm responsible for that. I'm not responsible for you. I had that conversation with somebody. We adamantly disagreed on certain topics. And I was like, hey, look, you know what? Let's hold on. In the end, in the grand scheme of things, at the end of this life, whatever energy that we return to, what you want to call it, the cosmos or infinity or nothingness or God, whatever that is, you're not going to be answering to me for how you lived your life.
Yeah.
You're going to be answering to it. And so am I. And I won't be answering to you. I'm going to be answering it to God. So I need to make sure that what I'm doing is right. And even when we disagree on this. But I also think that it's important that if you ask my opinion, that I give you my honest to God opinion. But I don't interject unless it's absolutely necessary or you ask. Because I'm going to be on the hook for that. So yeah, I am a very black and white thinker. I think there's way less gray in this world than people think there is. I mean, there's a lot of people that operate in gray, and I was like, no, gray is black. It's just a lighter shade. It's black with a spotlight on it. Just because it's well illuminated doesn't make it not black.
Somebody could just say it's a darker white.
There's no such thing as dark white. Dark white is gray, and gray is black.
Is that what we're going to do today?
Is that what we're going to do today? We're going to fight?
We're going to fight.
No, we disagree on that when we have, and we will continue to do so most likely. And that's fine. That is fine. I get how I operate. I get how I get how I work. So it's like, it's fine. I get it. I understand that we have a differing of opinions on that, and that's okay. I love you, and our relationship is secure enough to be able to have a conversation where we don't agree. Holy crap. That's amazing.
Yeah, we've been there a while.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I give my thoughts on
No,
this?
by all means, please. Please. It's been kind of a monologue so far.
When I read it initially, I thought, the word "see" jumped out.
Mm-hmm.
Just to repeat it again, it says your thoughts shape your vision. You see what you choose to see. I don't remember if it was called "Choose to See" or if it was called "See," and I did not look it up. But it was Mary Beth Chapman. It was the wife of Stephen Curtis Chapman, the famous Christian music artist.
Yes. Yep.
His daughter was killed in an unfortunate accident at their home.
Yes.
And
terrible. Absolutely terrible.
His wife had written a book about that, and like I said, I don't remember if it's called "Choose to See" or if it's called "See." I can kind of see the book cover in my mind, and that the word "See" jumps out. But talking about that journey and what you bring from it, and it's actually along these lines, which is and there's more to it from, what I remember reading, because this is quite some time ago, but
choosing to see.
Choosing to see. Thank you.
A journey of struggle and hope.
I mean, the grief, the loss of a child is catastrophic, and I couldn't fathom, but
can't imagine.
Choosing to have hope in that, and choosing to still love your Lord, to still forgive, to just to go through the steps that aren't the norm, right?
Yeah.
They're not the norm when you're hurting.
No. And
that's perspective.
Yes.
Right? Because her thoughts were on Jesus Christ. They were on forgiveness. They were on his hope and glory, and knowing where her daughter was, had gone to heaven.
Yes.
That shaped then.
Don't mind the dog.
You're gonna hear some tags jingling there. That did shape her ability to have that positive perspective in the middle of absolute agony.
Yes. Yeah, can't imagine. Cannot even fathom.
So I think that is an extraordinary example for what I thought this particular, I don't know, quote.
Yeah.
Is like unknown. There's no like author to it, but just this premise.
Sure.
That worked well in this
That
premise.
works.
And I talk to clients all the time about it, and I work for myself on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That
I think that's something
that's how to have the positivity in the middle of hell.
I think that's part of the human condition is sometimes we can become very myopic. It's like we very, very short-sighted because we can't see past the end of our nose. It's like our experience with the world is often very centered on my experience with the world. And the shortest trip to horrible depression is to focus entirely on yourself. Because and to look at all the things that aren't going right. Because there's always stuff that's not going right. There's nobody on the planet that everything is going great. There's bad stuff happening. There's illnesses happening. There's injuries that happen. There's financial problems and emotional issues and all kinds of stuff. Everything that can go wrong is going wrong somewhere. And everybody you've ever met is going through something. They're experiencing things right now in this very second that you wouldn't want to deal with. And if you focus on those, if you choose to only see, or let me rephrase that. If you don't actively choose to see something else, all you're going to see is the bad stuff.
Absolutely.
That's all you're going to see is the bad stuff in other people. There's a trend in a lot of movies to turn lately anyway, to turn the bad guy into a good guy that's misunderstood. And I'm not a big fan of that. To a point. I do appreciate making them complicated. Because in reality, for the most part, nobody thinks that they're the villain. In your life, the people that have screwed you over, they don't think of themselves as the villain. And it's not because they didn't, they in a lot of cases, they know they did stuff that hurt you, but
they don't care.
But they did it for a reason that benefited them.
Yeah. Yep.
Or something else.
Self-serving motives.
Almost always.
Always trump.
Now, you can choose to see that person as just being the villain in your life. Or you can move on, I guess. In a manner of speaking, is you can choose to look for the tragedy in their story. It's like, what is it that brought them to that point where that was a good decision for them?
And was it actually a good decision? That's subjective. But most of the time, it's not.
It is subjective. But a lot of times people are only looking at very short-sighted. Like I said, people are, as a general rule, are very myopic. They're not looking, they don't look out into the distance. They barely see past the end of their nose.
Very
so
selfish.
It might be in the short term, it worked. It's like, I was able to avoid this drama or this pain. Yeah, but all you really did was sow the seeds of far worse.
In somebody else
just
or something
or
else.
Even for yourself down the road. It's like, you know what? You hosed this person to avoid this issue or to get this. And now, in a year from now, when you need somebody to be there for you, you burnt that bridge. It's like, you avoided a little bit of an issue here and created a gigantic one later. But I think for personal healing in most cases, you have to change. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody heal that didn't come to a point where they chose to not see themselves as a victim of life.
Well, I think
not saying
all
that
have that.
Yeah, well,
to a degree,
and not saying that a person who is victimized
aren't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and not to say that someone who's victimized was responsible. That's not. I'm not trying to imply that in the slightest, not in any way, shape, or form. But when life is only happening to you, you're just floating around in the sea. You'll always be the victim, and you can't do anything about it.
And
When you learn,
you've been hit your hardest, that's usually how it feels.
yeah, and understandably so. And even if it's like, yeah, you know what, stuff happens. Stuff happens. People are terrible to other people. But, you know, you may not have been able to stop it. But I've seen people heal when they realized, you know what, I couldn't have stopped that. But I can keep it from happening again. I was a victim. I'm not now. And I've seen a lot of people, they chose to stop seeing themselves as a victim and start seeing themselves as an active participant in their own lives. And then they can move. Then they can heal. Then they can move on to, start the journey.
Yes.
I think if you're still thinking of yourself as a passive participant, like you can't do anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I do. It's always going to be horrible. It's like, no, you need to choose to see yourself differently. You've got to choose to see yourself as someone who has some control. You might not. I mean, let's be honest. Teenagers don't have a whole lot of control in their lives. Their parents control a lot of it. The school controls a bunch of it. But you find that heck, most adults don't really feel like they have much control in their lives. Like, I got a family to take care of. I got a job that I got to order. I have to take. I have to do what my boss says, and I have to do what the state says.
Choices have been made for them.
Yeah, well, and at some point, it's like, yeah, you had options up until now. You didn't see them. Well, now you can choose to hunt them out. It's like, okay, yeah, you know what? I at this point I could have chose. At this point I could have chose. At this point I couldn't choose. I chose not to choose, so the choice was made for me. Well, you still chose. Now that you see that, now you can learn to see the options that are in front of you now.
Sometimes it really is the clouds lifting mentality, right?
Yeah, often.
It really is.
In a lot of cases, yes. And like I said, I think that it's a very simple little statement of, you can choose to see things differently. I mean, it's a very, you choose what you see.
It does not mean that things don't suck.
No, not at all.
It does not mean that the reality isn't hard, and that sometimes it's which option sucks less.
Yeah.
It's really
that unfortunately is true, but
it's all. But in this, in terms of even this, this quote, it's having the willingness to say that one of them sucks less.
Yeah, and that is often the case. But actually, we can bring it back to what we were talking about last week with Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve.
2 weeks. 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Christopher Reeve.
Reeve.
And
the quadriplegia.
He realized his life was over. And he was
the life that he knew was over.
Yeah, he at the beginning, right after it happened, and he realized, I'm not getting back up from this. He thought his life was over. He's like, you know what, my wife, she needs to leave. It's like, go take the kids somewhere else. You don't need me. I can't do anything for you. I can't be dad. I can't be the actor. I can't be the director. I can't be the husband. I can't do any of this. I can't hike. I can't horseback ride. I can't play sports. Life is over. And it wasn't until Robin Williams made him laugh that he realized, that it doesn't have to be. And then he chose. It's like, you know what? You're right. I can't do any of that stuff, and it sucks. But I can still be somebody.
Yes.
And he chose to see the possibilities in his future.
To be an advocate.
Did not change a single thing about what had happened to him.
No.
And I guarantee he had really rough days.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you look at his wife. She chose to not see what she had lost and chose to see the man that was underneath, that was trapped in that body that she fell in love with and that she chose to stand next to. You know, there's something to be said for that. You know, that's a huge thing. It's a monumentally huge thing. It's like, it's very hard to do. It's like, there's all kinds of serious illness. There's all kinds of chronic illnesses that, you know, they don't, it's like, yeah, you know, everything you got works. Oh, okay. That's great. Doesn't mean everything's hunky dory.
No.
Yeah. You know, it's like, and we've, you know, it's like, you've listened to us. You know what we're talking about here.
I've lived a version of that.
And, you know, you can, and I'm not saying you don't have moments where it's, you know, you kind of get just beat on yourself because of all the things I can't do. I can't do this now. It's like, I used to love that. I can't do that now. Like, simple crap. Like, big old slab of cake. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you can eat the big old slab of cake and you're going to feel like absolute dog crap for the next 5 days. Or, you know, it's like, yeah, I lost that. You know, simple stuff like that. Or, you know, I can't chew.
I'm sorry. Did you switch to actually talking about me?
A little bit, but, but, you know, it's like, but you can, yeah, it's like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you lost that. That's a reality. You lost the ability to do stuff like that. You know, I mean,
you know what
you lost the ability to do that without,
we talked about the other day when I had my neurology checkup. It was a quote procedure day. My neurologist is out, so I had to see somebody else. And that was fine because I was well past needing my Botox injections. It's the third round, and at 3, they really want to evaluate, like, how well is this going for you? Because, you know, insurance wants to know to continue to cover. I could tell you there was some differences, 2 to 3. Round 2 to round 3, even with the weather shift, right? Because I had a pretty miserable summer. And you know what I realized? Even if it's the best it is, it mattered for my chewing. Is that why that's forefront in your mind?
To a degree.
It mattered for
well, and
how long I could talk, how long I could handle before there was a spike in pain. You know, and like they changed the frequency, it changed the intensity. Did it make it all go away? No. But I could tell. I could tell there was some level of difference muscularly, functionally, in my head and face. I could feel it. I could tell you when the Botox, the last round, had started to wear off. And I thought, go figure of all the things.
Yep. Botulism. Amazing.
That if it's some help at all, I'll take it. Will it be the same every round? I have no idea. I guess we won't know until next summer really comes around.
Yeah,
right?
there is that. But I mean,
how much I talk from day to day, how much I try to chew from day to day. However, I got to the point in the couple weeks leading up to that appointment where I wasn't chewing as much. Mm-hmm. I was drinking my food more. I was saying, yeah, I don't feel like it. Which as I've mentioned, unfortunately, that's been way more often than the last 6-7 months that I've cared for.
Sure.
And that I had done in the few years prior, but my perspective was off. I wasn't choosing to see things the way that I used to.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't necessarily negative. It was just tired.
Yeah.
It was more tired.
And that's when it's hard is when you have to be more intentional. But my point was more, you know, you can focus on all the stuff that you lost and just let it drag you down. Or you can choose to focus on the things that are going good. And in spite of,
yes.
And I don't mean like you specifically. I mean you specifically, but you know, you as a general term for the populace, as an individual, as a bunch of individuals, you know, like, yeah, you know, you can focus. Don't ignore the fact that bad things are there. because they're not going to, there's a lot of things
Yeah.
that are going on that you can improve.
That's not a good idea.
No, not a good idea, because if you ignore them, they get bigger. But in the midst of things being bad, you can focus on the things that are going good. It's like, yeah, financially we're doing okay, but we went through a lot of times where we weren't okay, but we were okay.
Yes.
The girls are,
Perception.
it's like, we can
I
we
had
can
to
focus
remind
on
you
the
of
stuff
more than
that
once.
the focus on the crap that isn't going right. But the girls are healthy.
Yeah.
And
they're doing okay.
and they're smart, and they're they're like, one's cuddly and one's snarky. It's like you got but
you got your extremes there.
sort of, yeah. It's like they definitely have they're their own people. But you can focus on those things that you can choose to see the things that are going good, and acknowledge without having to ignore the fact that things that aren't good.
And some people might think that's cliche or that's ridiculous. Well, it is cliche and it is ridiculous, but you know what?
It's still true. Most, if something makes it to the point where it's cliche, there's probably a reason for that.
So much truth. So much unfortunate truth.
It's really, it's hard to argue with the reality of something. There are projects that are, specifically, I talk about projects at work. This thing, like, it's really simple. Really simple.
Simple for who?
It's really simple solutions are usually very hard to implement effectively. Because a simple concept is like, it's a simple idea. If we can make this do this, it'll fix the problem. And keeping it simple usually requires a whole lot of effort to maintain that simplicity and make it effective. It's like, but just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy.
No.
Often simple gets very hard. And a simple concept of choosing what you see. Actually, here, let's bring out my inner geek.
Oh, okay. Well, you go ahead, and then I've got my real life. Choose to see.
Yeah, Star Wars Episode 1. Qui-Gon Jinn to young Anakin.
Oh gosh.
Your focus determines your reality.
That's a true story.
Like, and it's kind of a different version of saying basically the same thing. What you choose to see.
So, I've talked about having to kind of gut my workout routine again and start over and figure out what's effective. And as we've kind of been playing with that a little bit, and I've tried to be patient with that. I think I've been pretty good. I think I have not been too crazy, too ornery.
Don't think so.
I've had my emo moments because I don't like having to give up. And I put it that way, give up more things. I don't like having to alter more things and omit more things and learn different things. I'm not a fan. Because often for me, it's just easier when I know how it feels and then I can ride with it, right? So figuring that out differently has been difficult. But what I choose to see in it, and I've had a few clients remind me in their own way, even though they had no idea that they were reminding me, that it is so true how we can get stuck in the mindset, right? You get stuck in the, but this did work. And it wasn't even like a rigidity, it wasn't like that. It was just, I knew how this was going to feel, so I could handle doing it. And then my brain, I guess, just wouldn't allow more. I think we all have our own protective shield in that way. It wasn't about like not choosing to so much as it was forcing that shift of gears. Just absolutely forcing it. And as I've walked some clients through very similar types of change, I realized, even for myself, it's possible, and I am doing it. I am doing it. It might not be the pace I like, but I think it's going okay so far.
Cool.
I think
Glad to hear that.
I don't feel the same fatigue, and I wish I had that same like feeling of strength after a workout, but I don't. It just doesn't feel the same. I don't know. I'm still choosing to see it as moving forward, and
Good.
it's better than nothing.
Also true.
I'm trying not to look at it. It's not a defeat.
No.
It's not
It's an adjustment.
useless.
Nope.
It's not that I'm not going to still gain some strength. It's just different.
Mm-hmm.
It's just different. I've told more than one client. I have more than one, just in general, that what they need help with is understanding that how they view things might be different than somebody else. And that's the issue that they're getting counseling for. But different isn't bad.
No.
Unfortunately, in this society, we kind of trained ourselves into thinking that that's what that means. Different is bad. That there has to be a good and bad, a right and wrong. That's not true.
There's a lot of things that just, in all honesty, I believe wholeheartedly that there is good and bad. But there's a lot of things that just don't freaking matter.
Well, there's that too.
To be fair, I use food as a placeholder for this, but I think I happen to think olives are disgusting, and you love them, and that's cool. That's fine. You eat them. I'm not gonna. But that's not a right and wrong. There's no good and evil in that. That's just personal preference, and it doesn't matter. It's like, you want pineapple on pizza. Great. I don't care. Have at it.
But you do.
I do, but I mean, some people they're like, they'll argue. I mean, there's fist fights over pineapple on pizza. It's like, dude, calm down. It's a matter of taste. Who cares? Oh, you want purple hair? I don't care. It doesn't matter. Okay? You want that third ring in your ear? Okay, I don't care.
Okay, bring it back.
It doesn't matter. There's a lot of things that don't matter, that we put too high of a value on. It's like, there's important things. There are, like I said, I don't, there is a lot of black and white. And then there's stuff that don't have a color at all because it doesn't matter. It's like, add your purple. I don't care. I don't, it's awesome. Great. Awesome. That's amazing. Enjoy. But, it's like, you've got to make a change in your life because things aren't working. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's not working.
Well, and it's being intentional about figuring out what is, okay, the thought. So again, let's go back to what it says. Your thoughts shape your vision. You see what you choose to see.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to what you're thinking about to begin with. What do you dwell on?
Mm-hmm.
Do you dwell on things that tend to be negative, or do you dwell on things that tend to be positive? And I know that those can be subjective.
Oh, yeah.
But in reality, it's how it's affecting you. Like, what
Oh, yeah.
are you thinking and feeling as a result of the things you think about?
Yeah.
That are not just like, what are you introducing yourself to? Who are the people that you are around? That all matters.
Yeah.
What you watch, what you hear, what you just in general expose yourself to. What's the environment that you're in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. No, I mean,
where you work.
In a very superficial example of this in reality, in just in your life, like, buy a new car, and you could. It's like, man, this is cool. I don't think I've ever seen one of these on the road before. I only see it once in a while. This will be awesome. It's different. I'll be able to find it in a parking lot in a hurry. That's great. And you get in it, And within the first mile of driving that, you've seen like 20 of them on the road.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't buy the car at the same time you did. You just never noticed. It's like you chose that vehicle and now they're everywhere. It's like, no, they were always everywhere. Now you're just conscious of it. It's like there's bad stuff in your life. And if you're constantly thinking about the bad stuff in your life, the only thing you're going to see is the bad stuff in your life.
It's true.
The second you start actively, when you actively choose to look for the good stuff in your life, that good stuff that is there becomes more noticeable. Like, well, we just bought a Pilot.
Yeah.
And now you trip over them in a parking lot.
Yeah.
Can't say we ever noticed one before. Knew they sold a lot of them. Can't say I ever saw one that I was aware of. Now they're everywhere.
White ones.
Yeah, white ones all over the place. But it's like, if you really start choosing to actively open your eyes to something in your life, you're going to find it. You're looking for those good things in your life. It's like, yeah, you know what? I have a nice house and a reliable car and a healthy family and a
Praise
decent
God.
job, and like I'm in a decent neighborhood, and I can, like, if I'm hungry, I can get food from 100 different places within 2 miles of my home. If I go within 5 miles, it's like 200 places, 300 places. It's stupid, There's grocery stores. It's like I don't have to farm. That's awesome. I don't have.
We'd have to do something weird at Greenland.
Sure.
Anyway.
Yeah, but I mean,
my dream.
You can find, if you choose to look for them, you will find those good things in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of times people are, they get in a very depressed state because all they're letting themselves see is the obvious bad stuff that's happening. So if you focus on that, that's the only thing you're going to see. Like I don't remember, we were at a function many years ago. It's like, yeah, there's no reason you're depressed. You're only thinking about depressing things.
Well, that's all you hear, all you see, all you talk about.
Yeah, it's no wonder. Yeah, you're depressed. Of course you're depressed. The only thing you're reinforcing are the bad things. Try to reinforce some of the good.
It's a positive reinforcement.
Yeah, positive. And again, it's self-positive reinforcement. That's choosing to see the good stuff. It's not saying that the bad stuff isn't there.
You're not. Yeah, when you start trying to talk yourself out of it, that's a different category.
Well, I mean, to a point though, you kind of have to, especially in the beginning. It's like.
Well, okay,
yeah.
but you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I don't want to take
I'm
this
good
too
enough.
far out.
I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And gosh darn it, people like me.
He ran out of politics. Anyway.
Good.
That was a long time ago.
A long time ago, and he was funny.
He was funny.
Got a little too full of himself. But, anyway, be that as it may.
I get what you're saying. So again, it's very important to be conscious of what you're exposing yourself to.
Definitely.
The shapes thoughts to begin with that then create the vision. And then your will to be able to choose what to see. It's its own chain.
Mm-hmm. And momentum is a real thing. Generally people's default setting is they've been focusing on the negative because, I don't have this and I don't have that, and according to this I should be here and I should be doing like, you know what? That's great. That's all of that stuff. I'm not saying any of it's bad.
All of it's true.
All of it, yeah. All of that may be true, but you've got a momentum of thinking of lack, or shortfall, or shortcomings. It's like you've established, you have this established inertia going in that direction. And you find these people that are just so happy and chipper all the time. And you want to know what drugs they're on. And some of them are heavily medicated, to be fair.
That's true. I mean, I've met people. Like,
Yeah,
you're like,
but
whoa.
But
How?
they have created a massive amount of inertia thinking about the good things in their life. And it's very hard to be unhappy about the bad things in your life when you have spent so much time reminding yourself of how blessed you are.
It's true.
I don't have that kind of inertia. I have a hard time developing inertia in stuff.
You've been doing very well, though, trying to remain in that positive front. And I think what's helped you do that is actually seeing the fruits of my labor and the time
Sure.
and energy that we have spent for me to become educated to have a career.
Sure.
I think that's helped you.
I got to tell you, that doesn't hurt. It does not hurt.
Though I repeatedly told you, you just had to have faith in that, and you had to give it time, and you had to have faith in me, and that's not how you think.
And I do, and I have, and
That's
I
not how you
did.
think.
But at the same time, it's like, somebody screams, "Hey, don't worry, the fire extinguisher is coming while you're on
Listen,
fire."
That
It
shark
just-
is right back there, okay? I got the shirt to prove it. Okay, that shark is right there. I get
aware.
it.
I'm
all
aware.
the time.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'd rather be shark bait than nothing at all.
This
You
is
know,
true.
that's fine.
Just got to keep swimming.
Keep swimming. And I do. I keep swimming. I have been in the river for a while now. I just keep swimming.
Yep.
I just keep swimming.
Yep.
Pilates now. A little bit of strength training, traditionally.
Sure.
1 day a week.
Yeah. You-
And I got a recumbent bike.
Yeah, starting the new process.
I found a place to donate the cycle that I had, which is a clinician's office, which is funny, right? Because we have this little space that they have like some exercise equipment and all that stuff for staff. Well, I shouldn't say exercise equipment. There's like a step, so you can do like literal like steps in place, and then they have the what do they call those? The punching. I donated them, and we use them, and I guess other people do too.
Focus pads.
Like that you hold and then
the
people
focus
punch.
pads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, there's some things there that helps. I said, what about a cycle? And they thought that sounded good. I said, awesome. So I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it different.
Yep.
And it's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Do I miss some attributes of what I used to do? Absolutely. There's a psychology to it.
Yes.
If you're going to put yourself through stuff, there is a psychology to it. And there's a psychology to changing it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on that.
Sure.
And I don't get paid for it. So,
No, you don't get paid for working on yourself.
nope. But I think this was and we could talk again. We'll talk about a lot of things in a lot of different ways for hours, but
Oh, yeah. And we do.
in the end, it's cognitive behavioral therapy is very, very basic, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's something happens to you, you react, you think and feel a certain way, and that causes you to think and feel a certain way, behave a certain way, and around the cycle you go. So if you stop the cycle at thinking, right, like how you perceive something, that would change how you would react to something, it stops the cycle.
Mm-hmm. Well, it stops one cycle and starts a new one, hopefully a healthier one.
A healthier one. Yes, that's kind of the point. Yes. So, good call today. Fix it. Trying to fix people.
Eh.
Hey, it's all right.
Yeah.
No shame in that.
No, you can't fix somebody. You can just try and help give them the tools so that they can start the process of fixing themselves.
That's what I do.
Yep.
I don't tell anybody what to do.
Oh, I do all the time. They don't listen.
Do you tell me what to do?
Try not to.
That's true, you don't.
Not really.
You don't. That's
Nope.
true.
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. So,
Anyway.
I think we've come to our end today.
Yes.
Yes. we shall move on to adulting and other things.
I guess.
Like tax stuff and
Yeah.
housework and I don't know, whatever
doing
the
your
heck
nails.
else is outside of this office.
And doing your nails.
And you want to do my nails?
Well,
I mean, that's not real adulting.
Yeah, no. But I mean,
But we could do my nails. You did help. You helped our daughter, our youngest.
I'm pretty. I did all of that. The stuff that you're currently peeling off your nails. That was me. That was.
She did the first layers, the first couple.
You know, and then I had.
Fine.
You know. Anyway. Yeah.
Go put some lion blue on my fingers.
Sure.
Games tonight, baby.
Got any silver?
I don't know. Let's go look.
Eh.
I think there's sparkles.
Anyway.
Sparkles. Got some glitter.
This is rabbit trailing like a son of a gun.
Go Lions.
Go Lions. Yes.
That's how we'll end that. Go Lions.
Yep.
Okay.
So, as we usually end it, I'm Fix-It.
I'm Feel It.
We hope you join us in the future.
Until next week.
Y'all have a great one.
Go Lions.
Go Lions.